This conference will now be recorded.
You got us. Thanks, Kevin.
I just need the adoption to the agenda.
So move.
Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Review the minutes from 9-4 of the North Zumbro Sanitary Sewer District.
Do you need a motion on it?
No, we don't. Just look over that. We'll jump to number 4, a review of the minutes from our regular meeting from September 5th.
I'll make a motion to put in the September 5th meetings.
I'll second.
Minutes.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Review the minutes from our work session from 9/11. Kim, do you know if Miranda has ordered that brush sign yet?
Sorry, what?
Ordered that brush sign that we're gonna put by VFW?
I believe she's been working on it.
Mike, yeah, it has been ordered? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the September 11th work session.
They should be amended to say I was not present. But that's the only, I wasn't there, so.
Make a motion to approve them with that in mind.
I'll second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Good catch, Kevin. Accounts payable, Kevin.
Not a whole lot of money being spent this time around, so that's always good. One thing to draw attention to is continued work on the water meter project, item 80697 for $35,000, 630.68 cents. Just continued work on that one. I would make a motion to approve the accounts payable on the total of $59,001.16.
I just have a quick question for Mike on the meters. Have we gotten all our meters yet?
I believe we have.
Have we talked about date when we're gonna start installing that, or is that all up to the contractor?
We're still working with Stan and the contractor on that.
Okay, perfect. That's the only question I had. We have a first, or motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Kevin. We will open the public comment portions. Individuals may address the city council about any item of concern. Speakers must state their name and limit the remarks to 5 minutes. Dave Dolan.
Dave Dolan, Mr. Mayor, honorable city council members, thanks for hearing me today. 30-year resident of Zumbrota. My wife and I moved here in October 1994. Never left. Built a house at 240 East 13th Street, lived there for
29 years, and then finally built our dream house out on Mulligan Drive. When we were building, we ran out of money, so we did not install our irrigation system, and we recovered from that and have since installed the irrigation system. I dutifully, happily, and quickly purchased a second meter as recommended by city staff, and have yet to find a plumber willing to install it. So if there are any plumbers in the room or listening online, I would happily entertain a quote. Actually, just come and do it and I'll pay you to install the meter. The second piece of this is that we have since found a leak in the system, and so I've shut the system off. And I'm here tonight to plead my case and to respectfully request a dispensation on a portion of my water, the sewer bill from last month. Typically, the sewer portion of our bill, basically, when I went back and looked, is $40 to $60, so we're heavy users. Regularly, but this particular bill, the sewer portion is $295, and so I'm hoping to get a little relief. So, and again, so I sat up there, I was on council, I've been on planning and zoning, I've been currently on EDA. If you need to hash that out with staff, that's fine. If you want to give me an answer now, that's fine. Either way, just let me know how you'd like me to proceed. 2 minutes and 5 seconds.
Dave called me on this topic here, was it a week ago or so? Do you know what your previous months were prior?
The water, the sewer portion?
The sewer portion?
Yeah, it's $40 to $60. And started my clock again.
No.
Again, if there were a plumber that were willing to do this work, and it's a small job, right? It's a small job. I wouldn't even be here because I'd pay the water because the water was used. The flip side is the service to the sewer was not, and that's kind of where I'm coming from. So I'm not looking for any dispensation on the water portion, just hoping to get a portion of the sewer backed off, since it didn't go to the sewer plant anyway.
You found a leak in your system and it was in your yard, not going down the...
Correct, yeah. Yeah, it's actually going into Tina's yard. She's appreciative of the leak because her grass is green in that spot.
So do you have a dollar figure that you're looking for?
Yeah, I'm going to leave that to you. I mean, I'm just looking for a little relief. I'm certainly not advocating to have the 295 drop to 60, but if there was something y'all could do.
I guess the water never went down the system, so the city isn't really out anything. You paid for the water.
I'm happy to pay for the water. Not happy, but I will.
There was a service that wasn't, you didn't provide a service
Correct.
for that, so I guess I'm good with a reduction of that bill to some extent. You may agree, disagree, or what kind of portion that might be.
I would say take off the $60 and.
And it,
295 and 235. Take 235 off.
Yeah. His normal sewer bill.
and the only question that we talked about, Dave, or council that I've talked to a couple times, that I don't want to set a precedence, but it's also a new service. Now you get somebody like me that has a service that's been in the ground for 15 years. Mistakes happen, sort of mistakes happen on Dave's issue. So that's why I would be leaning towards giving him a refund of some sort, because it's a new system. It's something new that he's fixing, he's corrected, and he hasn't gotten the other meter. So, I mean, if somebody has a dollar amount that, or an opinion, or do you want to talk about it, do more research, talk to city staff, we can do that too. whatever council wants. I mean, if you want to take care of this problem now.
I don't care either way.
I mean, if we can make get it done and move on.
Unless.
That $235 would have been on your bill anyway if you had the second meter installed. So I
The
guess.
meter's sitting in my camper room at home on the floor.
And I would be understanding that correctly, Mike, if that second meter was there, that $235 wouldn't be on the bill, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Then I guess I would say I'd make a motion to reduce that bill by $235 back to what the monthly bill would normally be.
Yeah, I'd second that.
Any further discussion? So it's a motion and a second on 235 refund for a one-time
Understood.
on a problem that he didn't have the second meter, so. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0.
Thank you.
Write your check right now.
Any more public comment? Paul?
Good evening, everybody. Paul here.
Grab that mic, Paul, would you?
Sure.
Here, come.
Thank you. So I think I know most of you here. I live at the top of 805 Warren Avenue. I built the house there back, I started in the summer of 2003, moved in March of 2004. At that time, when I was laying it out in the driveway, I worked with Rick Lohman, who was the public works director at that time. And he had consulted with the city engineer in terms of what should be done with my driveway. All right. They said, here's where we want you to cut the edge of the street, pour the driveway right up to it. It's all good. 2008, city came along, redid all of Warren Avenue and up around to the dead end. After that, we started having some water issues. All the water from the top end of Warren slopes and headed right to my driveway. The curb that was put in was pitched back towards my property, so the water never flowed properly after the street was done. As a result of that, over the years, all the water was hitting my retaining wall, and it took out one end of the retaining wall. So, it was time to kind of address it, redo the driveway and all these things. So I consulted with Jake Rood, who's been doing a number of the curb and gutter projects for the city, as Mill and Six are going on here. And I had him up to take a look at it. He said, well, what we should do is you should really have a drive over curb here to control the water. We need to replace a short section of the curb to get the curb pitched the correct way so the water runs down Warren Avenue and we don't have an issue. I know I've had a few people up. Bob's been up and take a look at it. Mayor Hamill's been up. City staff, Mike Olson, Larry Sealsdorf, they've been up and took a look at it and so forth. So I know a number of you are familiar with kind of what we're doing here. So we went ahead, replaced the driveway, put in the drive over curb. Cost of the curbing was $1,200. Okay? And that's really what I'm after. Is I'd like to be compensated for that $1,200 that has corrected this water issue that was not there when I built, but was a result of when the road was redone and the negative pitch curve that created part of this issue. So that's what I'm after. If you want, I had my daughter take some pictures and a video during this heavy rain tonight, send it to me as I was driving home from work, and the water is beautifully flowing down Warren Avenue.
So, a couple things. I went up there, I think Bob was up there, Brian and I went up and looked. Mike, you've been up there and looked at it, I believe. What's your opinion on the whole situation?
Well, part of it was that if there was gonna be anything done during that construction, that was an assessed portion. So I looked back at the plans on Warren, and Warren plans says protect the cement driveway. So the neighbor across the road at the time was John Quast. He had decided he wanted curb on there, so he ended up paying for his curb. And a portion of his apron and driveway where he goes into his garage, where he did go into his garage.
Is that the one across the road from you?
Yeah,
On the corner?
he's on the corner. Keep in mind, all the water flows the exact opposite way.
So I guess I would assume that it would be an assessed portion because it was never curbed or driveway entrance before.
That wasn't curbed before when they redid that?
That's why the neighbor across the road at the time, he had to pay for his curb and driveway.
Was everybody curbed up there, or did everybody pay for the curb then up there?
That was the only assessed portion of curb up there was across the street, otherwise it was curb up to.
There's no curb on the south side that goes up to the dead end. And there's only curb on the north side up so far to what was John Quas. And when I built the home, prior to road construction, 4 years prior to, we didn't have a problem. After the road was redone, that's when we had the problem. You know, I did exactly what city and engineer wanted to do at the time.
That was my question, was it before or after you built it? And you've answered that, so I'm not opposed to giving him 1,200. Because it wasn't, you could tell that it wasn't right.
When I was up, the water all runs to Paul's property. I mean, it all comes to there and goes down the retaining wall.
I don't think, the water shouldn't run down your yard. It shouldn't be contained. I guess the question I have is, I don't know if Bill can answer this, what was done differently at that point when the road was redone? To force that water that way, or?
It's been 17 years, so my memory of that is.
Oh,
I'm not
why?
asking for that, but I guess just
I think this is probably more of a procedural question, like Mike said, and that is, when we replace something, we put back what was there. So if there was no curb, we don't put curb back. Excuse me, if there was curb, we put it back. So as Mike mentioned, the neighbors across the street want a curb, so they paid for that. Brian did ask me to go look at it, but only just recently, so I have not been up there myself. But this, I don't doubt the drainage problem at all. I think it's probably more of a question about, what's our practice been on putting curb in somewhere that wasn't curbed. So, but at the end of the day, I think this is probably more of a council, it's as much of a political decision as it is an engineering decision or a drainage decision.
And one of the questions I had when I was meeting with Paul is, there's no catch basin up there. I mean, normally when they have runoff, there's a catch basin that runs the water, and there's not. So it literally goes to the corner and goes. The legality, the curb and gutter, I guess that is something.
Well, I understand that, but there's a curb there. Before he fixed it, there was a curb there. It
There
just
is a
didn't
curb
go up
right where
to
you repaired
his-
it, right?
In that corner, it just didn't go up to your driveway.
Up to the driveway, but is negatively pitched back. So when all the water comes down the dead end, if you look up the dead end of Warren to where Wilkinson's are and so forth, all the water slopes this way, and it all comes right to that corner.
Yep.
And again, before the road was redone, there wasn't a problem. But after the road was redone, over the years, you get a heavy rain like tonight, it gushed down, and I guarantee if you ask Steve Hendricks, he had water in the basement in the house I grew up in, because all that water would chuck down that way.
And that reminds Howard, I think, is the one that lives next to you,
Mhm.
and he does have curb to that side. When was that installed, Mike? Do you know when that curb on Howard's? Would that have been 17 years ago? So
2008. It was 2008.
So the very southeast section of Warren that you're talking about where it's pitched down, before they did that, was there any curb there? What was that before that got installed?
Yeah, that was redone. And then after it was redone, there's about a 5-foot section. You can look at it in different places, actually. So there's about a 5-foot section that was negatively sloped to my property. And you go down a little further between Ann's and Rockney's, and it's actually pitched back this way too. It's always pooled at the end of Ann's driveway. So, I mean, there's multiple, but once there's enough water flowing, then she chucks all the way down, and you finally get down to the storm sewers at the bottom of Warren.
So the pitch was already on that concrete before they redid the road, or that was a new addition?
After the road was redone. Yeah, I didn't have a problem before the road was redone.
Is it something we need to discuss, get more information, or is it something we want to make an action now?
I'm still hesitant to pay money to it because of the assessment side of it, where everyone else who has curb and gutter had to pay for it when it gets installed. There seems to be a little bit of a planning aspect of that pitched thing that caused a problem, but I'm not sure that the whole amount, because everybody else has to pay for it when they get theirs installed.
Have you been up there?
I've seen the pictures, I haven't gone in
We had
person.
a council
Yeah.
last week, or last council.
I get what you're saying about paying for the portion of it that was gonna be assessed. And the portion that I don't like is the fact that the water was running down on his property from the street, which that shouldn't happen.
And it wasn't that way before the road was done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a bit of a unique situation.
I don't know if it's something that we wanted to just discuss in work session, something again.
Yeah, let's do that. We'll push it to the next work discussion, which we're doing, I think. 10G will start, so we'll move it to there, so
I would feel more comfortable discussing it. Money that can,
maybe a little more history on it and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
I would feel more comfortable.
So I think that's what we'll do, Paul. We'll put it on a work discussion again, just to get, I think we're doing one November 11th, I think is the next one. Is that the next one, Ken?
No, there's one in October.
October.
Agenda G is making sure we set them.
It didn't?
No, I got it November 13th, but yeah, we'll discuss it, Paul, and we'll get back to you and go from there. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you for coming.
Any more public comment portions? I will close the public comment portion and we'll jump to 9A, unfinished business. Resolution 2024-32, approving the proposed budget levy collection. Ms. Kim.
All right, well, you guys, we've had this in front of us quite a long time. We've been talking about, after discussion and some things, the council decided to go with an 8% levy with the understanding that we will be adjusting. As we had discussed, and we know we can't go higher after the initial levy set. So I would anticipate there will be some moving around of funds within line. You always have the ability to move things within line items in the budget. If you say you think there's too much in office supplies and admin, you can take it away or put it in something. I mean, that's your directive, but we have to stay within those parameters that are set. So that is our preliminary levy is $2,839,092, which is an 8% increase from 2024. And there will be, as you will see, there will be a public hearing and a vote to accept the final budget in December.
Always go down.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve the total levy. $2,839,092.
I'll second that.
Any further discussions? I know we've talked about the budget for a couple days, month.
A couple days.
All in
Is
favor?
it cinch?
As a resolution, do we have to do a roll call?
Oh, you're correct. Sarah?
Oh, it's for resolution. Okay, aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Joan? Kevin?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Kim. Let's jump to 10A, new business, 966 Gulfview. Curtis?
Thank you, Mayor. Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on September 10th, 2024. Seth Freeze Construction has applied for a variance for encroachment to the rear yard setback of that parcel of land at 966 Gulfview Avenue, which you have a map in front of you. As you can see, it's a corner lot, it's an irregular shaped lot, and all setbacks were acceptable except for the rear yard setback. The other map you have is the engineering sketch of the actual home where it's going on the parcel. The ordinance allows for a rear yard setback of 35 feet. The plans for the new home call for a rear yard setback of 26 feet, 10 3/8 inches. The home is arranged in a direction due to drainage issues on the lot. So when you're out there, you'll see that there's a hill that runs from the north to the south, and it's mainly on the right side of that lot. So this house will sit on top of that elevation. What else can I say? Stemming from the public hearing, and there were 2 people there after everybody within 350 feet got a letter. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommends granting the variance to Seth Freeze Construction by a vote of 5-0-0. A couple of topics. It's an irregular shaped lot, the drainage issues. We did look, we did grant a variance to Tina Hosteger back in May of 2021 for her irregular shaped lot, which she ended up not staying on that lot, but it was granted by the Planning and Zoning Commission. So we're looking for a second to that variance.
Council, you have any questions on that? I know I had the builder reach out to me on that, kind of the same thing, and I sent them to Kurt and/or Planning and Zoning. It is a goofy lot, abnormal lot, bottom of the hill. And I told him to go through the direction of Planning and Zoning, and that's the way he did. And I guess Planning and Zoning, they vote that 5-0.
5-0-0.
Did that neighbor that's adjacent to that lot have anything to say about it, or?
The neighbor to the west?
Yes.
Yeah, he called. It was interesting because he got his letter and he was against it, but a lot of people don't understand setbacks. So he thought that we were going to take 8 feet of his yard away.
Oh, no.
So once I explained that actually with this, your neighbor won't be as close to you, and he was for it once I got to talk to him. So
Right. It's not a side yard setback, right?
So-
Okay, good, okay.
because if it was, directed another way, he'd only have like maybe possibly 6 feet away. So,
Like the other one is on the other side.
yeah, he'd be a lot closer. So that was the only one person I talked to on the phone. And like I said, at the public hearing, there were 2 people there. One was the builder. I think the other one was, I believe, the person who's building the house.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
I was just gonna make a comment. I know there's some circumstances with this lot, and the biggest one for me is the drainage. But, and I think I've said this before, but we've gotta keep on top of these subdivisions so this doesn't happen. And I know we've given variances on this subdivision before, and I know it's not an easy thing to do, but, and I don't know exactly how to do it. That comes down to zoning and reviewing his plans first, but I think this is a 3rd or 4th variance we've given because the lots are odd sized in this development. I think it's something we need to be aware of, so we don't have to do this.
I think part of it too is trying to get the most lots you can out of this to meet our ordinance requirements. So that makes some weird figures. And then when it comes to time to build the house, like, ooh, we can't.
Yeah. Those are things
Yeah.
that should be looked at first,
Yeah.
but I know it's hard to catch all that. It's just, and then I take a look at the lot. This lot is actually bigger than the lot on the opposite side. You could change the house a little bit too to meet the requirements, I guess. But
Yeah, we discussed that.
that was discussed.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I talked to the builder. I said, is there any chance of making it smaller? Obviously, the builder said no, because it's not as big as house.
He doesn't want to, and I get that.
Yeah.
Waiting for a second.
Oh, you
Oh,
motioned?
no.
I already seconded
Okay,
it.
sorry.
We're voting.
We had more discussion in between.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Kurt. Let's do 10B, Towards Zero Death presentation. Corporal Justin, I think is his title now, right? Yes.
Good evening. Let me not block the way. Mayor and members of the council, my name is Jessica Sade, and I am the Goodhue County Towards Zero Death, also known as TZD, Safe Roads Grant Coordinator. I've been here many times, and we are back to provide our annual update on the TZD program.
Corporal Walrick with Sheriff's Office. Obviously was in Zumbrota just a few months ago. So back here, glad to be in front of the council again and see some fresh or old faces again. So glad to be here.
So a little review, the TZD vision is to reduce fatalities and serious injuries on Minnesota roads to zero, and the TZD mission explains how we plan to do just that. So our mission is to create a culture of which traffic fatalities and serious injuries are no longer acceptable through the integrated application of education, engineering, enforcement, and emergency medical and trauma services. And that is called the 4 E's. Working together. Some of the key accomplishments of the statewide TZD program have been a statewide seatbelt use rate of 94.2%, passage of stronger traffic safety policies related to seatbelt use, texting while driving, ignition interlock, impaired driving and speeding in work zones, a statewide trauma system enabling 98% of Minnesotans to reach a trauma hospital within 60 minutes, and then also implementation of low-cost, high-benefit strategies for intersections and lane departure crashes on state and local roads. And Corporal will talk a little bit more about how we work together and some of the enforcement part.
Obviously, we work together with, our communities with, Jessica's side with the community outreach, and then also we use engineering a lot. Perfect example with engineering is we just put a roundabout in on Highway 58, County 9 in Goodhue. Very bad intersection, a lot of bad crashes there. Since that's happened, I can't recall of a single crash that's occurred there. So really good to see that happened. 316 and 61 received a roundabout a couple years ago. Obviously, you see the benefits of the roundabouts within the city of Zumbrota as well. On the enforcement side of it, obviously, we're out there enforcing the laws and all of that stuff. And also what I found out now being the lead TZD coordinator is our input from TZD is getting moved over to the engineer side of it. I've got to meet with the engineer several times, and putting input into that as well has been beneficial as well. Okay, so TZD's goal is obviously towards zero deaths with vehicle collisions. We're trying to go down. 2020 was a bad year with, 2020 with the COVID and all that stuff going on. It seemed like speeds were high, crashes were bad, and all the above. That was where a huge spike has happened. Since then, we have been bringing them numbers down, but we're not to that zero yet.
And this is our fatalities, and this is also talking about our serious injuries. And so what does that mean? It means that over 4,526 lives have been saved since the implementation of the TZD program in 2003. So here's the serious injuries. Since 2003, we've had a 50% decrease, and we expect people to make mistakes. How we how do we make those mistakes less impactful and fatal when they do happen? So year to date, some of our traffic related deaths. In 2019, we had the lowest traffic fatalities since, I think it was World War II, 1946, World War II. Since then, like we mentioned, we've been going down, and then all of a sudden we hit a spike with COVID. During COVID, we saw high fatalities. And as of September 17th, we had 314 traffic related deaths. And this is compared to 281 deaths at this time. So we've gone a long way. We've seen a 37% reduction of fatalities since 2003, but we have a long road to go, as you can see. So zero is attainable, but it's going to take all of us working together to get there. We all play an important role in traffic safety. We need to talk to our friends, our families about making good choices behind the wheel. We need to be role models and get involved where we can. So TZD, we coordinate traffic safety events and activities throughout the county. Here are some pictures from a few of our past events. We work within our communities to get important traffic safety messages to our county. So here are some pictures from Goodhue Public Schools. This was the 7th and 8th grade science class. It was a very chilly day, and yet there was quite a few that still had shorts on. But it was really fun. The science class learned the science behind crashes and impacts and the importance of seatbelts. We have also done preliminary breath tests, PBT events at Hay Creek. We've done 2 of them now, and it's been super great. During the event, participants had to journal and answer questions throughout the event regarding being able to assess the amount that they had drank and their abilities to drive. Members of the public were also able to participate in the PBT event, and many of them had some surprising results based on how much they had drank and the effect it had on them. We had one person who had 1 beer, but it was a craft beer, and it was a 0.8 or 0.08. No, you're not alive at that point, but a 0.08, and that was extremely surprising because most people think, oh, it's just 1 beer, no big deal. Well, for her, it was.
I was also at that event. It was very beneficial for the public to have that. I had a lady that was a lifetime user of alcohol, chronic alcoholic, she advised me of. I PBT'd her. Prior to that, I asked if she felt safe to drive, and she said absolutely. PBT'd her, she was double the legal limit. And after I gave her them results, she still advised me she would still drive, even though she knew that she was double the legal limit. This event was very beneficial, especially for our office. I brought in, I think I had 4 rookies there that got to learn how to do field sobriety that day. So that was an excellent thing. And the community just kept rolling in, and the questions that we fielded was just amazing with the people coming in, and just the questions and the input from the public of how well it was taken. It was a very good program.
We had tons of people coming in. They kept on asking, what time is the next event? What time is the next event? Because they would come back from their campers to come watch it. And what it was great is, I'm happy that you mentioned that, is that the participants, we had 8 participants, they had to journal each time. But anybody from the public, when we did a PBT, we asked basic questions. Before you knew what your PBT number was, do you feel safe to drive? Would you drive? And then you answered that yes or no. Then you got your numbers, and then after you got your numbers, it was, now that you know your numbers, would you still drive? I think a lot of people were quite surprised by so many people then had long conversations trying to explain themselves, but said, nope, I still would drive because of, especially if it was quick or if it was just around the corner or this, that, the other thing. So it really was great to then be able to have those conversations with enforcement and just to talk through a lot of things.
And it was good to see too, is I had several that were way under the legal limit that said, absolutely, I wouldn't be driving before I even PBT'd them. And they'd test and they were way under, and they still wouldn't drive knowing their level. So they did have that self-advisement of it's not safe to drive, even though they were technically by statute safe to drive.
So how can you get involved? Traffic safety is everyone's responsibilities. So we actually have the statewide TZD conference. This year is October 22nd through 24th. It's in St. Cloud. Anybody is able to go to it. We also have our TZD Safe Roads Coalition meetings, and then we also have our quarterly Southeast TZD Steering Committee meetings. So thank you for being here and thank you for all you do to protect the people that are most important to me. And before I close, I would like to take a moment to introduce to our council our new Goodhue County TZD Safe Roads Grant Coordinator, Anna. After 10 years of working on TZD, I am moving to another position and Anna will be taking over TZD.
I'm Anna Coleman. It's nice to meet you all. I'll be the new TZD coordinator. I'm originally from Goodhue and moving back to the area, so it'll be nice to be back in my community and working on this great initiative. So I'm very excited.
Perfect.
Also, Officer Richard Evans, would you like to say a little bit?
So for the last probably year or so, close to, since Justin left, I have been the TZD coordinator for the police department here in Zumbrota. And we've been able to get a lot of impaired and dangerous drivers off the road, whether it's due to speeding, DWI, and whatever you name it. We've been able to have a pretty good impact with that. Consistently trying to make the road safer for, friends, families, and, we want everybody to go home at the end of the day. And then in addition to Justin, I will also be attending the TZD conference in October here.
Any questions about the TZD program?
Perfect.
I just want to add a few things so with my time with the TZD as being the lead coordinator, I had a big event that we ran the first part of July. We had a border-to-border speed saturation that we worked. I can't remember the exact number of traffic stops, but we were over 100 traffic stops in that one day. I had staff working from, I believe it was 9 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. Yep. And then Tyler actually working speed enforcement right outside of City of Zumbrota, arrested a lady, 2 young children in the car, was impaired as well and stopped for speed.
But she was over 3 times the legal limit. Kept insisting she was still safe to drive and she was all over.
So we've had numbers of stories during our events of finding impaired drivers, and especially that event, I think that 2 or 3 people went in custody that day, with driving violations or DWI. Not a lot of speed citations were given. It was more of an educational base, but the speeds were lower that day because the presence was so heavy. But the contacts were still made. In the county, we're still seeing the issues with speed. I know I've issued an individual well over 100 miles an hour just a couple months ago on 52. He was under the age of 18. And we've been seeing high speeds in any vehicle that you can see, semis all the way down to little cars and motorcycles. And then obviously the change with the legal marijuana is getting to be heavy. Our department's seeing a very big increase in marijuana impaired driving. And then the influx of fentanyl and things like that we're seeing as drivers operating vehicles with.
Perfect. I think it's a great program. I appreciate Jessica's time. You'll be missed. I think we've sat in 4 or 5 meetings with your presentation and Justin and Tyler and now Anna. That TZD is funded by the state, correct?
So state and federal funds.
Have we seen that dollars increase over the years? Has it been pretty much steady or?
Oh yeah, so technically in Goodhue County, we have 2 TZD grants. So we have an enforcement grant, which he'll mention right now, and then we also have a Safe Roads grant. So the Safe Roads grant that I help lead is about the programming, the outreach, the getting into the schools, doing the community, that kind of thing. And so our funds for that part of the grant can be used very differently than the enforcement grant. So that money has actually stayed pretty consistent. It's not a large amount by any means, but it has stayed pretty consistent for the Safe Roads part of it.
So on the enforcement side of it, it's I believe the money is given both by federal and state level, with majority of it coming from the federal side of it. Last year, legislative gave the state a large amount of enforcement extra money that was only good for 1 year. So last year, we've seen a huge influx in funding, which was very beneficial for our departments within the county. Getting our budget coming, because the year starts here in October, it was cut dramatically because that funding isn't available anymore. So it'll be kind of a sad thing to see that we won't be able to put that extra hours out there, but it's still considerable amount of money that we can still put staff out.
And with the decrease, does that affect TZD quite a bit with the decrease?
I would have to look at my exact numbers, but I think we were cut approximately 1/3.
So
And that money is for the overtime hours for the deputies and officers who are on the road doing the extra enforcement time.
And a couple of years ago, they added, like with the PBT events, they have a funding base in the TZD grant that I can pay for that type of event to happen. So they're moving more towards the educational side of things as well versus just strictly enforcement. And we get a considerable amount of money to do them events. It's just hard to find places to host them.
Council, any more questions for the TZD crew? I appreciate everything you guys do and keep it up.
Thank you.
Let's jump to 10C, set a public hearing adoption dates for the 2025 final levy budget. Kim, are we doing that October 3rd at 6:05?
No,
December.
the public hearing and adoption are in December.
December?
Yeah.
Why did I get there?
So the public hearing will be December 5th and the adoption will be December 19th. So we set the public hearing. We'll set the public hearing for December 5th at 6:05 and the adoption will be an item on the agenda for the 19th.
Okay.
I'll make a motion for those two dates.
I'll second that.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Kim. Let's do 10D, 58 rectangular rapid flashing beacons bids. Bill?
Pleased to let the council know that we received 3 bids on August 29th for our RRFB project. So that is the flashing pedestrian crossing signs. So our low bid was $125,956 from River City Electric of Mankato. So what we're asking the council tonight is to approve awarding the contract to River City Electric. Real briefly, what we'll be doing at 4th Street, we have that mast arm that comes over the road now where there's a push button. We'll be adding some more lights to that, and then we'll also be adding beacons at 3rd and 2nd. Those will be push button activated, and those are the really bright ones that blink at you. So this was actually something that Councilmember Hostager, Tina, this is many years ago, said, what can we do downtown? And we said, we can do something like this. So then we set out looking for grants, and it sometimes takes a little while, but I'm also pleased to let you know that $124,000 of this will be paid by MnDOT. The city's cost share is about $10,000. So the only unfortunate part tonight is that they won't be doing it till the spring. So there's a fairly long lead time on the equipment, but all good news tonight on this project. So looking for a motion to award a contract.
And I do know that originally the bid was like 89,000, 90,000, and it came in higher, and we went to the county or the state and asked, could we get the extra? And they said, yeah, we'll give you the extra. So we did get more than the original
I thought
grant.
it was only 90-some thousand.
Well, we did because we actually talked to them ahead of time. We added some things to the project, so.
So it was bigger, so this project's bigger than we originally talked about.
Right, so, correct. Yep, so we added more to it, so.
I told Tina yesterday that we were approving the bids tonight, so she was so very happy.
Perfect. So this is not gonna affect the price from now until next spring to getting this? Perfect.
Good.
I will make a motion to approve the lowest bid there.
Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Bill. Let's do 10E, a 9th Street change order for Chapa. Bill?
All right, you guys have had this on the agenda or similar items, quite a few items over the last month or so. If you recall, the Champas had requested that the city include the creation of their 7 lots into the city project. We had a fair amount of discussion at our committee of Bob and Todd, and ultimately recommended the council, and you agreed to do that. And then in the vein of, I'm going to say, ultra transparency, what staff had and also again our committee had talked about is technically we could have just rolled this into our contract because it's a unit price contract, meaning if we have 10 yards of dirt we're moving and now it's 13, well, we wouldn't actually need a change order, but we thought to make a very, very super clear delineation, we would actually come back and amend our contract. That way it's crystal clear what the Champas are paying for and what the city's paying for. So this is a very similar amount to what was in that pre-development agreement, of which they have placed into escrow amount to cover this and the associated engineering and other items with this. So what we are recommending is that the city council approve this change order with Schumacher Excavating for $60,812.50. And would be happy to answer your questions. And if you haven't been out there, it looks completely different. I'm hoping this rain doesn't make it look completely different, but it's really taking shape quickly. So
This change order on this bill is Chapa's part, right?
this is
Not
correct.
the
This
city's,
is
just
100% paid by them. This is just breaking it out, so it's super clear what that is.
we're adding it to the whole bill, but it's Chapa just because that's the legality of doing it.
Yep. Technically, we wouldn't have to do it this way. We could just send them a bill, we're done. But you know what? This is
It's out there,
really,
it's open.
really
that's what we're
cleaner.
talking about.
Yep, really cleaner from an accounting perspective.
And just to kind of piggyback on Bill, we will tag this with an activity number. So that will all be, when you see it, we'll be able to pull all those numbers back.
I got just a quick question.
Yes.
Does the change order, doesn't change the timeframe of it at all?
That's correct.
How does that work if you're adding some work to it? Just because that's all part of the scope? And it's
Well, because we give them a window to complete it in, and and we usually give them more time than, because we'll account for weather or changes, and so, and Schumachers have said they'll be able to get it done in the same time frame.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah. Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the change order.
I'll second that.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 500. Thanks, Bill, for all that info. 10F, fire hydrant install at the park. Mike?
So as we're working on the campground out there, we have to expose the water main, and we don't have any fire protection out in the park anywhere. So just thought it would be a good time to install a fire hydrant at the campground area. The quotes are, the only difference is I was able to get a hydrant cheaper from DSG for $1,521 cheaper, but so the total is $9,979 to install that hydrant with a wet tap.
Where is our closest one? Is it sitting here on the corner, probably?
For the park,
Is that our nearest one here on 58?
Right on 58.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it definitely needs to be done, especially as we're adding more campgrounds and we get more people and growing it, so I
It'd
think.
be easier than bringing in drop tanks there. Yeah, we have that hydrant, that would be great.
And there's not a pressure issue at all getting it to there or anything like that.
This actually crosses from St. Paul Road area,
Oh,
kind of
okay.
where the sewer crosses, it crosses the river and goes up to the swimming pool area up there.
Perfect.
I'll make the motion. Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 500. Thanks, Mike. Let's do 10G, set work, 2 more work sessions. I think we're doing, or like to do November 13th and December 11th from 5:30 to 7. Am I correct on that, Kim? Is there one in October? Okay,
That's what I was wondering why we didn't, I guess I read it wrong. So-
yeah.
So what was it?
It'd be November 13th, which would be in between councils, from 5:30 to 7.
Yeah, we already have that on there, okay. I already have it in there.
Say I don't, but that don't mean anything. And then December 11th, does that work for everybody?
Did we set that October one at a previous council meeting?
I think
Okay.
that's what I'm.
See, I don't
These are
have-
2 that we had to
It's the
set, yeah.
16th. There's another one on October 16th. I think we already set all these, quite honestly, because I have them in my phone. I wouldn't have put them in there.
Okay,
I think we've already done it,
okay.
but we can do it again.
The 11th certainly works. I might be out of town on the December 1. I'm sorry, I
Okay.
said that back.
And we're all on the same page on the October 16th one, right then? I didn't have it in my calendar, but I
don't
usually
have-
put it in the night before.
I wouldn't have put it in there.
I know.
without it being approved.
Is that right, Kim? Do we have one for the 16th? Do you have that?
I I do not have it, but I don't have the minutes up in front of me, and I was at the last
Pretty
meeting.
sure we already set these, because they're in my
Okay.
phone, but.
So let's just vote
Set it
again
again.
for the 16th of October, November 13th, and December 11th from 5:30 to 7. And if, I mean, obviously we got things in family that can't always make, but
Second.
Joan, that work for you?
Yeah, I'm just putting it in. I'm like, it's not on mine. If you
Why
had
would I have them in there though?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have, yeah, I do it right away so
Yeah.
they're in there, yeah. Otherwise I will
Perfect.
forget.
We got the next 3 months
Okay.
work sessions. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Let's do reports. Matt? Chief?
A couple of weeks ago, the Zumbrota Police Department went through a post-audit, and that happens about every 5 years. So this is my second one here with Zumbrota PD, and it went very well. The auditor was very pleased with the organization I had with all the information he was seeking. A lot of it has to do with personnel and training and policy. Certainly our Lexapol, they're very familiar with. It was very easy for them to review that because it's online, which makes it very handy. And it's certainly compliant because it makes sure it's compliant. So that went well. And then on Tuesday, we will be interviewing 2 candidates for police officer. And so we're looking forward to that and getting that process started. So that's all I have.
Perfect. Thanks, Chief. Bill, do you have anything to add for tonight?
Nothing additional unless there's any questions.
James?
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. Next meeting, I want something, okay? Kim?
People are reading books,
Perfect. Todd's fine. Kim? Mike? I had something, but I forgot. So I will pass. Sarah?
Looking
Bob?
forward to the Covered Bridge Festival.
Hold off the rain. Joan?
Nothing tonight.
Kevin?
Nothing tonight.
Meeting adjourned.
No, it's almost done reading. It's almost.